Liverpool have beaten Inter Milan 1-0 away from home in the Champions League at the San Siro. A massive victory for Arne, who after disappointing draws to Sunderland, Leeds United, Mohamed Salah coming out and criticising him and the club, I think has had the perfect possible result. A clinical 1-0 win, a clean sheet. Could have been 2, could have been 3. I thought they were all over Inter Milan, completely outplayed the Italian side. Despite the fact Inter Milan had a chance right at the end with Lautaro Martinez to get a 1-1 draw, I thought Liverpool were very, very well-deserving victors today. We're going to break down the goal, the key moments, the VAR controversy, and ultimately take a look at Liverpool without Mohamed Salah, even in Italy with the squad today. I thought they looked brilliant. I thought they looked fresh. I thought they looked optimistic. The Salah situation, he might be taking selfies on Instagram in the gym lifting weights, curling a few kilogram weights, doing a few squats. This Liverpool side far more energetic without him on the right-hand flank. Curtis Jones did a brilliant job at points. Dominik Szoboszlai as well. Thought Joe Gomez on the right-hand side gave them defensive solidity. Absolutely brilliant. Liverpool really needed this. They really, really did. Yes, the Champions League is far more forgiving than it used to be. But you have to say, if they lose to Inter Milan, they got some tricky games coming up on the other side of Christmas. Marseille, Karabag, who've obviously taken points from Chelsea as well. Not the toughest opposition in the world, but if you lose to Inter after losing to PSV, there's a domino effect where Liverpool could go right to the bottom of the table and get a nightmare playoff draw, the likes of which makes it a lot harder to progress through the tournament, and it obviously tires out your squad as well. Liverpool needed to win this game, get back to winning ways, and actually show the kind of form where their best competition this season certainly hasn't been in the League Cup, for obvious reasons, certainly hasn't been in the Premier League. The Champions League has been absolutely brilliant for them. Turning things around after PSV, going back to the performance where they smashed Frankfurt away from home 5, going to the performance where they, very similar result, a 1-0 win against Real Madrid as well a few weeks ago. I think it was very, very important for Arne Slot. I wrote in my notes for today, could we talk about Liverpool? If they're going to do anything this season, why not go big? They got some big footballers. Could they win the Champions League? Worse Liverpool sides have gone on to win the Champions League. Yes, they've got big holes in this squad, but the way they caress the midfield today with a touch of poise, a touch of control, at points Çalhanoğlu, Barella running all over the park because Liverpool's play between the lines, their midfield was so strong. I look at other midfields around Europe, and yes, PSG, Manchester City, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, very, very good. But Liverpool aren't far behind these lot. I'm not saying they're going to win the Champions League, but these kind of results, Arne Slot might be able to save his job by having a deep Champions League run. If you agree or not, let me know what you think in the comments down below. But being sensible in midfield, picking opportune moments to drive with the ball. Dominik Szoboszlai today was an absolute star. And again, people call him the Hungarian Steven Gerrard. But he's so reminiscent of those physical, marauding performances where not only is he linking up play very well, never loses the ball, he's got an unbelievable cross on him as well, but he obviously scores that important set piece like the leader Dominik Szoboszlai is. And at the moment, someone like Mohamed Salah isn't the kind of leader that Liverpool need right now. But Dominik Szoboszlai has been that kind of leader in this squad since the start of the season, since the free kick against Arsenal as well as an example. What a player Szoboszlai is. And it's now a question of time before we look at Szoboszlai in this point of his career, this inflection point, where a large part of the optimism and the positivity that Liverpool display, which has been very muted this season for obvious reasons. We haven't seen Liverpool too gassed too many times this season, but when they have been, it's down to Dominik Szoboszlai. Is this guy world class? Where do we rank Dominik Szoboszlai? Because the penalty was brilliant against Jan Sommer, one of the best keepers in the Champions League last season. Look, a penalty, you should be scoring it 7 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10. But it's still a brilliant penalty, high pressure penalty. A 0-0 draw will be very, very frustrating, particularly after the Konate ruled out goal as well in the first half. Let me know what you think about his VAR decisions, by the way. Let's just start off with the Konate one. Obviously, a deep ball comes in. I think it's Ekitike flicks onto Konate and he scores a brilliant goal. I don't understand why it gets ruled out. I think it's absolutely disgraceful for a potential handball. it felt like it was way too high up on him for it to be a handball. And I think it was completely punitive, completely over the top, re-refereeing of football matches that the European counterparts that we see from the Premier League are maybe even worse. You hear comments, the World Cup in 2022 was good. Maybe certain Spanish league games are okay. The Bundesliga. The Champions League refereeing is terrible, and so is the Premier League. So where do I go? The Vanarama League. Like, where am I meant to go as a football fan? Because it's embarrassing. I have to say, look, I'm not massive on Inter Milan getting what they need in terms of refereeing decisions. Like, it is what it is. But the Florian Wirtz dive on Bastoni is absolutely embarrassing. It is. It's absolutely embarrassing. And I'm seeing people come at me on Twitter saying, well, we were robbed of the Konate goal. That's right. But 2 wrongs don't make a right. 2 terrible refereeing decisions don't make a right. And Wirtz diving, absolutely embarrassing. This guy's an athlete. He's been thrown around like a rag doll. It's embarrassing with a capital E. It's shocking stuff. Yes, he's played for it. Yes, maybe he shouldn't be holding on to his shirt. But diving like that is disgraceful and cynical, to say the least. And the referee and his complete stupor has bought into it and spent a long time doing it, dramatically and theatrically at the San Siro, making the whole game about himself, brings the captains over, and of course has to then tell the rest of the fans around the world that it's a ridiculous penalty. And these referees won't even... They will sleep at night because they're so idiotic that they don't even know the kind of damage they're doing to the game with some of these shocking decisions. They couldn't care. They're apathetic. Szoboszlai maybe deserves to score the penalty based on how good he was. Liverpool deserve a goal from the game because the first decision was an utter disgrace. But if it takes that kind of refereeing decision to change football matches, it's not about Liverpool, anyone. Then we're living in a completely up and down, topsy-turvy world where we don't know what's right anymore. Terrible refereeing at the highest level. It really, really is. Massive positives for Liverpool all over the park. They deserved the 1-0 win. They were better than Inter Milan. Inter Milan had a few snap chances, a few long balls into the box from DeMarco, but they're still a limited side, an old side. Obviously did well to get to the Champions League final last season, but these guys aren't going to go massively far in the Champions League. I thought Liverpool manhandled them at points. Robertson was bursting down the line. In the second half, some interchange between him, Ryan Gravenberch. Gravenberch feeds him on the left-hand side. Well, Isak actually gets the ball, cuts it back to Robertson, who plays an unbelievable ball into the back post. So the link-up play is getting better and better. Gravenberch is essential to everything Liverpool do right at the moment. The link-up play is beautiful, playing it between the lines, carrying the ball. Gravenberch is the number one name on the team sheet alongside Virgil van Dijk. We can debate everyone else. The likes of Ekitike, who I thought was brilliant, plays alongside Alexander Isak, who showed a lot more movement. Maybe Isak's one of those guys that... I remember Tevez as an example of a striker, maybe even Aguero, where you could play them by themselves and they just find situations to be one-on-one with the defender. They don't need people around him. Some strikers need bodies and people running off of them, and they need connections. And I think Isak needs people close to him. I think he'll benefit from having the likes of a midfielder like Szoboszlai around him, that kind of diamond that Liverpool had in the game. Ekitike off of him as well. I think he'll need that, Isak, versus just being a striker with 2 wingers cutting in. I think he'll like the fact that Liverpool looked a lot more narrow in this game and actually worked, gave them a lot of protection. Once they lost the ball, they weren't exposed. There weren't massive gaps between the midfield, the forward line. The diamond was able to compress and be very hard to play through. I thought that worked very, very well for Liverpool. The defence is essential. I mean, they're conceding cheap goals. Inter Milan, going to the San Siro after Ellen Road, the dramatic ending to that game. And they've kept a clean sheet as a ring endorsement to the maturity of Joe Gomez, the experience, the legendary nature of who this guy is for Liverpool. Konate, I thought, was actually far better in this game than he has been in other ones. Obviously, had a great game against Inter last season, against AC Milan last season. In the San Siro, of course. The midfield worked very well off the ball as well. I actually think Arne Slot has put in the best managerial performances in the Champions League this season. Galatasaray wasn't great, of course. PSV wasn't great, but Real Madrid, Frankfurt, Inter Milan, And you now look at Liverpool's fixtures coming up and you think, actually, if you can get the back four going, Robertson, Van Dijk, Konate and Joe Gomez, maybe a bit of rotation in and around Christmas, of course. You think Marseille carry a bag. I think Liverpool make it out the Champions League quite easily and in very strong automatic positions. But then you're looking at Brighton, Tottenham, Wolves, Leeds. I think Liverpool can build a little bit of form. If Man United are creeping up the table, if Chelsea are in and around it, Aston Villa started the season so poorly and they're still in and around it, Liverpool can definitely string performances together like this and keep clean sheets, make it a little bit boring. I'd freeze Salah right the hell out of this squad, freeze him right out. And I think Liverpool can build something in the next few weeks. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Really positive signs for Arne Slot. Make sure you subscribe. I'll see you very, very soon.